They understood they had to await rescue. Among the travelers was Sam, a government employee employed as a firefighter. Alongside the train attendant, he assumed responsibility for calming the frightened passengers and assessing injuries. Yumi was also present, offering assistance. Yumi had crossed paths with Sam previously during a fire escape training session he conducted. Since then, Yumi held great admiration for Sam. Back in the main city, anxiety and confusion gripped everyone, including the police, who struggled to locate the last two coaches of the train, numbered 5 and 6, which had vanished. They traced the tracks up to the point of disappearance but failed to locate the missing coaches. Interestingly, the whereabouts of coach number 6 remains a mystery, as I previously mentioned only coach number 5. Meanwhile, Sam, Yumi, and another passenger named Nevin opted to further explore the area. They ventured away from where half of their coach remained stuck in the tunnel. Yet, upon emerging, they were astounded to find no signs of life, as if everything had been obliterated years ago. Hastily ascending a nearby mountain for a better vantage point, they were met with an astonishing sight. The world they had known just hours before had undergone a complete transformation. Stretching out before them was a vast desert, devoid of any human presence. Returning to their train coach, they shared their discoveries, igniting speculation among the passengers about the drastic change in their surroundings. There were no cities or signs of assistance, and their phones failed to pick up any signal. It dawned on them that they had been stranded for over 7 hours without any hope of rescue. To organize themselves, they began compiling a list of everyone in coach number 5, totaling 46 individuals. With many passengers experiencing hunger and thirst, and no provisions of food or water brought along, the situation grew increasingly dire. Then, a passenger named Rennie, while searching through Nevin's bag for something to eat, stumbled upon letters that led her to suspect Nevin of criminal activity. Surprisingly, she discreetly took food from someone else's bag. Later, when another passenger discovered their food missing, Rennie openly accused Nevin, labeling him a criminal in front of the group. Nevin defended himself, asserting that it was unjust to accuse him without evidence and that anyone aboard the train could have been responsible, thus unfair to single him out. Continuing to face suspicion due to Rennie's accusations, Nevin stormed off the train in frustration, determined to seek help. Meanwhile, it was discovered that someone had inadvertently recorded Rennie stealing the food, ultimately vindicating Nevin. While Nevin was out searching for assistance, he narrowly avoided falling into a large hole, but Sam and Yumi arrived just in time to rescue him. As night fell and the following morning dawned, passengers struggled to come to terms with the reality of their situation, realizing it was not a dream but indeed a harrowing ordeal of being stranded. Paranoia began to grip the passengers, exacerbated by their uncertain circumstances. Meanwhile, other passengers who had ventured out for exploration returned, sharing any information they had gathered in hopes of gaining insight into their location. Among the shared discoveries was the sighting of a massive tower to the east, appearing abandoned and in ruins for years. This revelation was particularly perplexing considering recent news articles had mentioned the tower's construction, scheduled to commence in 2023 and conclude by 2026. This newfound information only deepened the mystery surrounding their predicament. Adding to the intrigue, Ken, one of the travelers, stumbled upon a tin bottle stamped with a manufacturing date of 2026. A biologist made a startling discovery. Plants on board the train appeared to be genetically modified, a technological feat not anticipated for at least 40 years into the future. As the passengers pieced together these clues, they reached a chilling conclusion. Their train coach had somehow traversed 40 years into the future, from 2023 to a time beyond 2063. This revelation instilled fear in everyone, suggesting that Earth had become uninhabited. Their foremost concern was how to return to their original time in 2023. Secondly, they grappled with understanding how Earth had deteriorated to such a desolate state. Back in 2023, news of the 2 missing train coaches had spread far and wide, leaving the government baffled. With 2 days having passed without access to food or water, the need for water became increasingly urgent. To prepare for the possibility of rain, Sam and Yumi erected a plastic sheet on the train, hoping to collect rainwater. Encouraged by the sight of nearby green trees, indicating a potential water source, Sam and a small group ventured out in search of water. Venturing into uncharted territory, they finally stumbled upon indicators of water, a frog and damp soil, affirming they were on the right track. With renewed determination, they hastened their pace, eventually discovering a small waterfall, bringing them all a profound sense of relief. During this moment of respite, Nevin opened up about the letters found in his bag, revealing they were from his brother who had recently been released from a 2-year stint in jail just 2 days prior. Nevin shared the hardships of their childhood marked by abusive parents, which prompted him to take on early responsibilities to support himself and his brother. Despite Nevin's efforts to provide a better life, his brother became ensnared in illegal activities, a painful reality for Nevin who had strived to prevent such a fate. Yumi and Sam, learning the depth of Nevin's struggles, felt remorse for their earlier judgment, realizing they had overlooked his true story, merely judging him by appearances and the letter from jail. This newfound understanding deepened their bond with one another. Nevin, in turn, found himself drawn to Yumi, his feelings for her blossoming amidst the trials they faced together. Indeed, Nevin had harbored feelings for Yumi since their college days. However, due to his unconventional background of early employment and lack of college education, he hesitated to believe that Yumi would return his affections, especially considering her apparent interest in Sam. Amidst the turmoil of being stranded in the future, a complex love triangle seemed to unfold among them. Yet, their predicament took a hopeful turn with the arrival of rain, providing much-needed water and a glimmer of hope for survival. Nevertheless, they understood that securing water was merely the first of many challenges they would face. Shane, leveraging his expertise as a biologist, took charge by identifying edible plants in the jungle while cautioning everyone about the potentially harmful ones. Under his guidance, the group embarked on a quest to locate safe sources of sustenance amidst the wilderness. During this period, Yumi inadvertently ingested a poisonous plant, though fortunately, its effects were not fatal. Adapting to their newfound environment, they began fashioning utensils from forest trees and crafting tools to ignite fires, even repurposing their ATM cards as makeshift knives. This transition highlighted the resilience of individuals who, mere days earlier, had relied on modern conveniences but now tapped into nature's resources to ensure survival, showcasing human adaptability in times of crisis. They initiated a process of identifying each survivor's skills and specialties among the group of 46, contemplating how these could be harnessed effectively. The following morning, while foraging for food, Shane encountered a mysterious individual near a cliff, marking their first encounter with another person since arriving in the future. However, during the encounter, Shane sustained significant injuries. With limited medical resources at their disposal, Yuto, a medical student, emerged as their primary hope for treating Shane's wounds. Despite his trepidation and lack of experience, the urgent need to save Shane compelled Yuto to take action. Leveraging Shane's botanical expertise, they utilized plants with antibacterial properties to stave off infection and improvised clean clothing to dress his wounds. After 3 harrowing days, Shane's condition stabilized, allowing him to address the group about the hostile stranger lurking in the jungle. In response, they heeded the advice of Yechi, an employee at a security company, and strategically laid traps around their campsite for protection. This precautionary measure proved invaluable when, the following day, they were alerted by the sound of someone ensnared in one of the traps. Hastening to the scene, they discovered a child ensnared in their trap, dressed similarly to themselves. The child managed to free himself from the trap and urged them to wait as he darted off into the distance. Intrigued, Sam, Yumi, and Nevin decided to follow him for several kilometers until they stumbled upon a small river previously unseen. There, the boy instructed them to wait briefly before vanishing momentarily. During this interlude, Sam opened up about a personal ordeal from his past. He recounted a workplace mishap where he disregarded his senior's advice, resulting in an accident that left his senior severely injured, losing both legs. The weight of guilt from this tragedy had propelled Sam to dedicate his life to aiding others. To their astonishment, despite the darkness, the boy returned, accompanied by more individuals. They were then escorted to a location where they made a startling discovery: the second missing coach, coach number 6, which had also vanished along with their coach number 5, but ended up several kilometers away. This revelation partially unraveled the mystery surrounding the missing train coaches. Among the newfound group, they encountered Hector, who appeared to have assumed a leadership role among the occupants of coach 6. As they shared tales of survival, it became evident that their experiences diverged significantly. Coach 6 had landed near a river, providing them with fish and water, and they had spent their time making their surroundings habitable. Nevin recognized the man who had run away and injured Shane as someone from Coach 6. This man apologized, explaining his actions were out of fear, worrying they might be future inhabitants hostile towards him, which led him to push Shane and flee. He had kept his encounter with Sam, Yumi, and Nevin's group a secret out of fear. Then Yumi and Sam questioned how he knew they had traveled to the future. He revealed discovering a damaged ship by the river, where a radio broadcast and past recordings informed him it was now the year 2060. Hector then shared the history and knowledge he had learned since arriving in this future time. In 2026, just 3 years after 2023, a massive meteorite hit the Earth, landing in the Pacific Ocean. This catastrophic event caused enormous earthquakes and tsunamis worldwide, instantly killing billions. The survivors faced a slow demise as dust thrown up into the atmosphere blocked sunlight, leading to a collapse of human life on Earth. However, over the years, the dust and clouds cleared, and by 2060, the Earth had returned to its green state, albeit without humans. Hector explained that if they managed to return to 2023, their first priority should be to alert the government about the impending meteorite to prevent the catastrophe and save billions, including their own families and loved ones. The next day, while exploring near Coach 6, Yumi and Rennie stumbled upon a grave, hinting that the people from Coach 6 had buried a body there. As they tried to figure out who it was, some individuals from Coach 6 confronted them, warning them to keep silent about their discovery to those in Coach 5. In a desperate attempt to escape and alert the others, Yumi and Rennie split, with Yumi drawing the pursuers away to give Rennie a chance to inform the others. Reacting swiftly, Nevin and Sam rushed towards Coach 6, hoping to rescue Yumi. Meanwhile, Yumi, still evading her pursuers, found refuge in the same ship Hector had previously discovered. Back at Coach 6, Nevin noticed signs of a struggle, confirming their fears about the buried body. Hector then revealed the truth to them. Upon their time travel-induced arrival, a criminal among them had threatened the safety of all passengers, leading to a confrontation where Hector ended up killing him in self-defense. This act of protecting the group led to Hector being appointed as their leader. Yumi, hiding in the ship, witnessed Hector sabotaging the ship's communication devices, suggesting he was concealing significant secrets from the group. Her hiding spot was eventually discovered by Hector, who confessed to her that he never had any intention of leaving this timeline. Hector had a profound desire for everyone who arrived with him to remain in this future permanently, envisioning the creation of a new society together. Upon their unexpected arrival through time, Hector found himself in a position of leadership, a stark contrast to his past life where his business had failed and he was losing everything. Embracing his newfound status, he resolved to prevent anyone from returning to the past, intending to remain the uncontested leader in this new era. Yumi, now a direct threat to Hector's plans due to her knowledge of his intentions, was captured and tied up in the ship to prevent her from exposing him. The tension escalated with Yumi's disappearance as misinformation spread between the two groups of survivors. Hector deceitfully claimed that Coach 5's people were planning to steal resources from Coach 6, stirring conflict and distrust. Meanwhile, Coach 5's group grew increasingly worried about Yumi's absence, and tensions boiled over into conflict upon their next encounter with individuals from Coach 6. In a drastic move to safeguard his secrets, Hector attempted to eliminate Yumi permanently. However, upon his return to the ship, he discovered she had escaped. Yumi managed to return to the group and exposed Hector's true motives, his determination to keep them all in this time by sabotaging any potential means of returning to their timeline. Hector, faced with the rejection of his vision by the group, tried to persuade them by highlighting the positives of their current situation: an unspoiled Earth with abundant resources, no overpopulation, and no pollution, where nobody would have to suffer from hunger again. However, the group, now aware of his true intentions, decided to ostracize him. Before being cast out, Hector presented them with a diary he had discovered on the ship, which mentioned a nearby tower that could potentially offer a way back to their own time. Motivated by this new information, two passengers ventured to the hill at night, discovering remnants of the meteorite that had struck Earth. These fragments possessed unusual properties not found on Earth. Meanwhile, in 2023, a scientist named Ray was analyzing CCTV footage to understand how the two train coaches disappeared. He discovered that a wormhole had opened in the tunnel at the moment of their disappearance. Ray concluded that the coaches were indeed swallowed by this wormhole, but the question of their final destination remained unanswered. Back in 2060, several passengers from Coach 6, unwilling to align with Hector's plans and longing to return to their families, joined the group from Coach 5. Together, they began to study the meteorite fragments, with Sam discovering that these pieces had a magnetic charge distinct from anything on Earth. The revelation that the meteorite pieces emitted a faint glow and possessed a distinct magnetic field sparked a glimmer of optimism among the remaining individuals. They speculated that by collecting additional meteorite fragments, they might be able to exploit this magnetic field for their benefit. A breakthrough occurred when one of the survivors remembered witnessing what seemed to be a shooting star in the sky on the day of their temporal journey. However, Ray, upon scrutinizing the recordings in 2023, identified the occurrence not as a shooting star, but as a supernova explosion in a remote part of space. Supernovas happen when a massive star reaches the end of its life cycle and detonates, releasing vast amounts of energy. These monumental events can profoundly influence the structure of space-time, causing seismic activities on neighboring planets, giving rise to black holes, and potentially creating fissures in the fabric of space-time. This comprehension led them to infer that the supernova explosion had generated a rupture on Earth, forming a wormhole that transported the final two carriages of the train into the future. Acknowledging that they had traversed time through a wormhole, the survivors understood that returning to their original era would necessitate either the spontaneous reopening of the wormhole or the discovery of a method to generate sufficient energy to open it themselves, capitalizing on the properties of the meteorite. The group formulated a plan to utilize the newfound power source, directing electricity to the tunnel so that, when the next storm arrived, they could expand and stabilize the wormhole long enough to facilitate their return to their own time. Sensing an approaching storm, Nevin informed Yumi of his decision to stay behind, believing he had no ties to their original world. Yumi, understanding yet resolute in her emotions, proposed they could remain friends as her affections lay with Sam. Observing this interaction, Sam found himself torn and uncertain about the next steps. As the storm brewed, a sense of urgency swept over them all. Everyone hurried to board the train, with Nevin rushing to activate the electric generator. Their concerted efforts paid off. The wormhole expanded, growing larger and more stable. Encouraged by Sam and Yumi to join them, Nevin hesitated as the storm grew more intense. Despite the obstacles, they all managed to embark on the train, which then ventured into the wormhole, carrying with it the hope of returning to their original time. Emerging from the wormhole, the train's doors were opened by security personnel, prompting the passengers to eagerly inquire about the date. The response they received left everyone stunned. Upon their return, the passengers found themselves on May 1, 2026, 3 years after their departure in 2023, just before the predicted year of the meteorite's impact on Earth. This realization indicated that they had returned to their original timeline, albeit 3 years into the future, arriving at a crucial moment just before the predicted catastrophe. Upon their arrival, medical teams promptly conducted examinations to ensure they hadn't been exposed to harmful radiation or carried any infections from their time in the future. The group endeavored to convey their extraordinary journey to the police and government officials, detailing their time travel from 2023 to 2060 and back, and presenting evidence such as the doll, meteorite fragments, and futuristic flora they had brought with them. They even shared a diary outlining a timeline forecasting Earth's destruction on December 9, 2026, due to the meteorite impact. Despite the consistency of their physical evidence, authorities remained skeptical of the story. The concept of time travel and an impending apocalyptic event seemed too implausible, resulting in the survivors' warnings being disregarded. Meanwhile, the survivors were joyously reunited with their families who had been searching for them for 3 years. For those who had journeyed through time, the experience felt as though only a few months had elapsed. Initially isolated without family, Nevin experienced a sudden reunion with his younger brother, who sought forgiveness for his past involvement in illegal activities. His brother explained that Nevin's disappearance 3 years ago had prompted his reformation. The reunion brought immense joy to both, signifying a fresh start in their relationship. Meanwhile, other survivors, despite the warmth of reuniting with loved ones, were weighed down by the knowledge of Earth's impending doom. The government's skepticism remained a significant obstacle to their efforts to prevent the catastrophe. However, Ray, the scientist investigating the train's mysterious disappearance since 2023, confirmed the survivors' claims. The meteors were scheduled for December, just as the survivors had warned. In response to the government's inaction, the survivors turned to social media to spread awareness of the impending danger, hoping to garner public support. Their efforts paid off as their posts and videos went viral, mobilizing public opinion. Faced with mounting pressure from the viral campaign and undeniable evidence presented by Ray, the government initiated a last-minute space mission. A rocket was dispatched with the mission to alter the meteorite's trajectory, aiming to prevent catastrophic impact. As the crucial moment approached for the rocket to intercept the meteorite, the survivors, fully aware of the stakes, began searching for a safe haven to ensure their survival in case the mission failed. They settled on Switzerland, believed to be a relatively secure refuge in the event of a global catastrophe based on their knowledge from the future. While preparations to depart for Switzerland were underway, Yumi noticed that Nevin, now finding a newfound purpose to live, much like Sam, was dedicated to assisting others during the crisis. Amidst these tense moments, Ray received confirmation that the space mission had succeeded. The rocket had effectively altered the meteorite's trajectory, saving Earth from destruction. And if you're still with us, please consider liking and subscribing to the channel, as only around 2% of viewers actually subscribe. Your support would be greatly appreciated. Thank you.